has twisted the fate of one of you.
Now, I'm pretty sure they're talking about Daxter, but that would be really good foreshadowing if they were talking about Jak. So when I completed the Jak trilogy in my childhood, and it was revealed that Jak was Mar at the end of the game, I never really second guessed that Jak was the real Mar, who traveled back in time to set things up for Jak in the past and fight in the Metalhead Wars and build Haven City. It was only in recent years that I discovered that in the Jak community there was people speculating whether he was the real Mar or not, like just a descendant. One group thinks he is, one group thinks he isn't, another group is 50-50. So I had to go back and revisit the Jak games for myself to find out if Jak really is Mar. And here's what I discovered. The series has one of the most interesting storylines I've seen like in all of gaming. And what I found, and feel free to refute me on this because it's fun to have a discussion, but from what I've seen, the game really does allude to the fact that Jak is Mar many times. But because the story is so convoluted and certain story elements can easily send people down rabbit holes, it can cause people to think that Jak isn't Mar, which is really understandable. Now again, if I make any mistakes, feel free to correct me, because I'm sure I didn't catch every single detail. I'm gonna try my best to address all the arguments, like the statue, Ashlyn saying Jak is Mar, Jak being a descendant of Mar, so bear with me. Now before I begin, I should mention that the reason why the Jak series is so convoluted is because I don't think Naughty Dog did a good job explaining all the lore that they threw at us. There are a few story elements that they give us that are either not explained properly or not explained at all. Like for example, Jak's uncle in Jak 1. Because we know that Jak and Samos are the only ones who came back to the past, we know that that can't be Jak's uncle. But we can explain it away by saying that's just Jak's adoptive uncle. But then there are bigger plot holes like the Precursors changing form from Jak 2 to Jak 3. Because of stuff like this, we're kind of forced to explain things that could have happened behind the scenes, and in most cases they are plausible, but also it could just lead to fan theories that may or may not be true. Although theorizing about the Jak series is a lot of fun. I know Insomniac had these issues as well with Angela Cross. Long story short, they just didn't think that far ahead. So having said that, I do believe that Naughty Dog originally intended for us to not scratch our heads about the complexity of Jak. I mean, the story is complex, but I don't think it was supposed to be a complete mystery. This is also why I don't think some random director can make the Jak movie without butchering the story, because no one knows the lore better than us, the fans. Even Naughty Dog is disqualified at this point. Now let's talk about the Mar paradox. So the seal of Mar is associated with the yin and the yang, light eco, dark eco, but I think it's also associated with the Ouroboros. And the Ouroboros is an ancient symbol, a snake eating its own tail, which represents infinity, the beginning and the end, coming full circle.
The forces of evil are converging. Only by destroying their leader will we ever know true peace. All will be made clear to you as the ending gives birth to the beginning in the great circle of time. The last dark power is yours.
Greetings, great warrior. Your return brings us great hope. This planet's future is at a critical juncture. The Dark Ones have found your world again, and fate hangs in the balance where the past and the future collide.
An infinite loop, a paradox. Now, have we seen paradoxes recurring as a motif in the Jak series? Yes, we have.
Good work, Jak. And Daxter, I suppose. Before we came through the rift long ago, I was nurturing that life seed from the great tree. It seems the metalheads are attracted to its power. Take the seed to Onin now. She will prepare it for Seamus.
You mean you?
No, the other me, Daxter. My younger self needs the seed's power to become sagely.
So, let me get this straight. It's fair to say that by bringing your younger self the life seed now, we helped you become the sage you are today. We helped you get your powers in the first place. And you never thanked us?
Thank you, Daxter. Now go do it!
Hey kid, you take care. Oh, and trust me on this. Stay away from any wumpy nest on your 9th birthday, okay?
I sure hope I built this replica right. I don't know if it...
It's perfect, Kira. This is the very machine we found, or will find later.
What? I just built this. After seeing the first one, I mean. It's based on what I remember from before.
Honey, the more you think about it, the more it hurts the head.
In my humble opinion, I do believe that Jak being Mar is the ultimate paradox in the series that they have been hyping up throughout the games. Do paradoxes make sense? No, that's the point of a paradox. You're not supposed to understand them. You could say it was Kira's destiny to build the Rift Rider. It was Jak and Daxter's destiny to help Samos become a sage. And I believe it was Jak's destiny to become Mar and save the universe. Now that being said, fans still can't help but think like there must have been a first causality to create the loop in the first place. And here's where my theory comes in. I believe that Onin created the Mar paradox. Now you could possibly swap out Onin for the precursors or something else, but in this video I'm just going to talk about Onin. Now before I explain how Onin created the Mar paradox to save the precursors and the universe, spoilers for Kung Fu Panda. Now according to Oogway, Po was destined to become the Dragon Warrior. But did you know that it was Oogway who created the chain of events for Po to become the Dragon Warrior in the first place? This isn't verbally explained in the movie, but it's exactly what happens. Oogway tells Shifu that Tai Lung is going to escape from prison. This makes Shifu tell Zhang to fly to the prison to double the security. When Zhang gets to the prison, the warden pats Zhang on the back, causing one of his feathers to fall down to Tai Lung. Tai Lung then uses that same feather to escape and then goes to ultimately battle Po at the end of the movie. If Oogway didn't tell Shifu that Tai Lung was going to return, he never would have returned. So this will correlate with how Onin gave info to Kor and Baron about the kid and Jak's arrival. Now here's how Jak 2 plays out from Onin's perspective. The precursors are on the brink of going extinct to some extent. Onin then finds a way to set things up for Jak to time travel to save the precursors. How do we know this? Well, we do know that Onin is the only person who knows where all the precursor artifacts are located, and she knew that Jak was looking for them before Jak even addressed the matter. Also, she knew Jak's name.
Onin welcomes you, blah 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 blah, the usual boring salutations. She says it is good to see you again, Jak. But we've never met before. Before, after, it is all the same. Onin wants you to recover 3 artifacts from the Precursor Mountain Temple. Not 2, not 4, 3. Use the warp gate at the northwest side of the city and bring back the 3 items you find.
Now you might say, oh, the reason she knew Jak's name is because she saw the kid. But the kid wasn't called Jak at that time. They just referred to the kid as the kid. So that implies that Onin knows that Jak is going to time travel. Now Jak has to go back in time to train, then travel back to the future to defeat Kor. Because Kor is after the Precursor Stone, and if he eats the stone, then the Precursor race will go extinct to some extent. Even Samos says, after the stone is activated, that because we released the Precursor in the stone, their race has begun again.
But today, I will finally feed on the last Precursor life force.
You saved the city and more, my boy. Metalcore and his menace are history, and somewhere out there, an ancient race has begun again.
So the older version of Jak originally was supposed to open the Precursor Stone, but here's where things go south. The Baron has his own plans to stop Core by using Dark Eco. Because the Baron and Arrow know about this information from Onin, that Jak was gonna time travel to the future, they pretty much interfered with the time loop by corrupting Jak with Dark Eco.
You were hidden in the past on the hope that you would gain the skills to face me today. But Onin was wrong. Now that you've been altered with Dark Eco, the stone will never open for you.
So you could say that Jak wasn't meant to be corrupted by the Dark Eco. However, him being corrupted by Dark Eco is still part of the master plan, and I'll explain that later. Now, because Jak is corrupted with Dark Eco, he can't open the Precursor Stone. Thus, Jak's younger self is now of a greater importance, which is why Count Vigor kidnapped him.
Yes, you were that child. I took you from Deimos, hoping to harness your eco powers for my experiments. Then I lost you to the underground.
And speaking of Vigor, when Deimos was still in charge of Haven City, Count Vigor was obsessed with light eco and commanding the Precursor monks, because while he was in the council during Deimos' rule, the House of Mar was associated with precursors and light eco.
You're full of surprises.
And you're full of Dark Eco. You and your rat are an abomination. But I will rid the planet of this scourge soon enough. Pure light will rule the universe, and I will be the bright light that shines to every corner of the world and destroys all shadows!
Now, Core does not want Jak to escape from prison, because Core wants to open the stone without a hassle, and he knows the big role Jak's gonna play in the future.
Why is this Jak creature so important? And that annoying orange furbag, he's nothing but a trifle. You have no idea how important they both are to the cosmos. Daxter must not be allowed to rescue Jak. Do you understand?
But if Jak does escape, he plans on disguising himself as an old man where he can secretly gather information on where the Precursor Stone is and keep tabs on the kid.
If Daxter breaks the eco-user out of prison, this Jak, I can still meet them both outside, in disguise. Yes, an old man would win their confidence. I can still get what I want.
However, even though Dark Jak was a foil in the plan, Core secretly fears Dark Jak.
The Metalheads have always feared you, Angry One. Even now, the Metalhead leader realizes you can destroy him and save the last chance for our race.
Now, all throughout the games, there's been people talking highly about Mar. How he's such a big hero of the past, fighting metalheads, hiding the last Precursor Stone from Core, building Haven City to protect it. Now, Mar's been in and out of time, and in order to do all these things, he must have had like some godlike powers. Now, I don't believe Deimos met Mar, but Mar could have still been around during Deimos' rule, and I'll explain that later on as well. I also believe that Onin, Samos, and a few of the precursors know that Jak is Mar. Just not these precursors, at least not at the start, because they haven't time traveled with him yet to create the adventures with Mar.
But dude, there are like way more challenges in the future. Or was it the past?
Yes, I was getting to that.
Core knows that Jak has to come back to the future to face him, which is why Core has a rift gate in his nest to see if he can pinpoint the kid, because Core needs him to open the Precursor Stone.
Expecting that little boy to save us is folly. At his age, he's no match for the Metalhead leader. Oh, Jak, we were just talking about Samos's plan.
Onin says your voice sounds very familiar. I'll bet you two golden oldies go way, way back, huh?
And just like how in Precursor Legacy there are other teleporter gates to exit through, there must have been other rift gates to exit through as well. So Core was experimenting, trying to find Jak. That's why Core says,
Finally, the last rift gate has been opened.
now because Jack came back to the future, he simultaneously allowed the Metalheads into the past, which is why they're on the verge of overrunning Haven City in the future. And the Jak 2 design Bible backs that up as well. Now with the Metalheads in the past, they have access to an abundance of ego, which helped them flourish and become bigger and badder over the years, where they would later engage in many wars trying to obtain the Precursor Stone and more ego, and Mar would have to keep fending them off. We know there are multiple wars because Daniel said,
Wait, you were once the leader of Haven City?
I came to the throne during the middle of the Metalhead Wars.
And according to the design Bible, if it weren't for Mar, the world would have been lost to the Metalheads. So Mar traveling back in time was necessary. So Jak time travels to the past to train, then comes back to the future to fight Core. But because he did that, he allowed the Metalheads to go back into the past and have dominion over the world. So then he would have to travel back to the past again as Mar to clean up his mess and fight in the Metalhead Wars and protect the stone.
I tore open a portal in time and flung him into the future, where my evil is law. Now the fool seeks to return to the past and undo the future that is Aku.
Back to the past, Samurai Jack. Back to the past, Samurai Jack.
And Jak would probably feel guilty having caused all this, so it does make sense that he would want to go back and correct his mistakes. He doesn't need some other legendary hero to do that for him. And that's another reason why the Precursors are so trusting of Mar, because at the end of Jak 3, Jak already befriended the Precursors and proved his loyalty by defeating the Darkmakers.
Our hero!
What the? Daxter?
What? What'd you see? Let me look. Hello, elevator, bottom floor, going up. Come on. I hate being short.
It just seemed for a moment, it looked like... No, it couldn't have been.
You are the greatest of heroes. You have turned the tide against the Darkmakers. Come then, Mar. No time like the present.
Our hero!
Now, if Jak was not Mar, and Mar was such an all-powerful being, why would he need to set things up for Jak to save the day? I'll tell you why. It's because Mar is Jak in the future, and we all know that Jak is corrupted with dark eco. This means Mar would not be able to open the stone, which is why Mar had to set things up for his younger self to do these things for him. If this weren't true, why couldn't Mar just release the Precursor Stone by himself? Why did he have to have Jak do it? It's safe to assume that Mar is an eco user. But if that's true, how come Deimos is not an eco user? Do the powers just like skip a few generations or something? Because as far as I can tell, Jak is the only eco user in the series. I mean, yeah, we have the sages, but they acquired their powers. Jak has his naturally. And why didn't Mar use the gun to pierce the Metalhead nest? Some may say it's because Crew said he died before he can use it. But Crew never met Mar, so he's pulling this information from Tales, which is what the design Bible mentions. Some people say Mar disappeared, some say when his work was done he went to a different timeline. The Precursors themselves, or at least the Precursor Oracles, mention that Jak is a Time Warrior.
Approach the Astral Viewer, Time Warrior. Behold the seed of our destruction.
What? Let me see!
Indicating that he's a time traveler. What's a Time Warrior? A person who fights wars while traveling through time. I'm sure there were Precursors that were aware of Mar's legacy, but because Jak hasn't lived up to it yet, they had to see Jak prove himself. and the precursors themselves acknowledge that they have a lot of work to do with Jak in the past. Samos knows Jak is Mar. He just didn't say anything because he didn't want to interrupt with the time loop. When the four of them came into the future, Samos was aware of all the events that were playing out.
As a sage of considerable years, I have known only one such great ordeal. Yet the hero it created was a champion for all time. Today's the big day, Jak. I hope you are prepared for whatever happens. I've had some experience with such things. I know you can make it work.
Looks like Jak still got the mojo. Yeah! What are those things?
So this is how it happened.
And at the end of Jak 2, Samos says,
I'm just glad to be back home.
Yeah, well, rest up. We've got a lot to do, and so much time to do it in.
Don't say time. The Rift Ring was destroyed, remember?
this is a story tactic that shows Jak thinks he's done with something, like time travel. But in reality, he's going to see it again. Like Master Ugoi said, one often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it. Samos then says, I have a feeling we're gonna meet Mar someday. He may be closer than we think.
I've got a feeling we'll meet Mar someday. He may be closer than you think.
The reason he said that is because he's being sarcastic. Mar is standing right next to him. That's why he said he may be closer than we think. Samos and Pekka are even aware of the future adventures Jak is gonna have as Mar.
You're the designated driver.
Oh no, I am done with adventure. Besides, you'll tell us before something happens next time, right, Samos? Right, Samos?
You never know what the future may hold.
Wait. You know something, don't you, Feather Breath?
Who, me? No, we're just guessing, right, Samos? Hey, Varro, only time will tell.
No, you're gonna tell right now!
Why, you little
That's on my feet! That's on my feet! Watch your
Don't touch it!
Jak, my boy, a future awaits.
Some may say that no, it just means that we're gonna meet Mar later on in some fourth installment of the Jak series, but we never do. Naughty Dog didn't have Jak 2 in mind when they were making Jak 1, but they did know a bit about Jak 3 when they were making Jak 2. Why would they hype up some legendary character like Mar that never appears in the games? This is the Jak trilogy. Jak is the star of the show. Jak is the hero. You'd think if Mar was such a big deal, the precursors would mention him, but they only speak highly of Jak. Ashlyn flat out says Jak is Mar. The Mar. Seemed like the master of precursor monks is even nodding her head. Some people may say Ashlyn is just saying that out of ignorance, not knowing if he's Mar or if he's just named after Mar. But I don't think that's true because Ashlyn is already aware at this point that Jak is the heir of Mar.
Jak, your friends need you. I need you.
The city threw me out, remember? They can rot for all I care.
But what about your...
Get it! Just leave. I have new friends now.
So the hero I knew did die in the desert. Or was it long before that? Don't you remember who you are?
So at the end of the game, Ashlyn gets a revelation that no, he actually is Mar. That's why she said it in a surprising way.
Wait, Jak is Mar? The Mar?
Now when the precursors say they want to show Jak the universe, he could be doing all sorts of stuff as Mar, traveling through time. Which is why Kor said,
Why is this Jak creature so important? And that annoying orange furbag, he's nothing but a trifle. You have no idea how important they both are to the cosmos.
Mar was clever. He covered his tracks well through time, hiding his last egg from me and building the shield and city to defend it.
Some will say Jak didn't really go into the ship. But as you can see, Jak is nowhere on that platform. And if you say they did the same thing in the beginning of Jak 3 where Daxter and Pecker appear in the desert and they weren't visible in the previous shot, you have to keep in mind that this is PS2 hardware, and I think Naughty Dog were just slacking. We saw dust flying, so that implies that they're supposed to be hidden story-wise. But because Naughty Dog's taking shortcuts, they just didn't put the models there. Because you can see clearly that they were covered with dust in another shot.
May the precursors have mercy on you.
Daxter!
Don't thank me. I'm only here because you wouldn't last a second without me.
So story-wise, they were hidden. That's how it intended to play out. In the Jak Trilogy DVD, Daxter also flat out confirms that Jak time traveled.
Can you believe Jak just took off and left me? After all the adventures we've been through together? Oh, guess not. Or did he?
I couldn't leave you, Dax. With all our adventures ahead, you wouldn't last a second without me.
When it comes to the entertainment industry, time is money. Because you're paying these actors to read a script, the general rule is every line counts. You don't throw away lines. So when Daxter says, or did he, that's a clear sign that he did in fact time travel. Now you may be wondering, why didn't the game just tell us that Jak was Mar a bit more clearly? Well, alluding to something is a powerful tool to convey a message in movies and stories. If they didn't always allude to certain things, and they just flat out told the audience everything, we would feel like our intelligence was being insulted. It's good to let the audience think. Naughty Dog alluded to the fact that Jak is Mar so many times to keep that mystery of it, but the player can still know that Jak is definitely Mar. Take Jesus for example. People say Jesus never claimed to be God, but he alluded to the fact that he was God in the flesh many times. He told one guy, before Abraham was, I am. And he told another guy, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. The Jews were able to detect Jesus was calling himself God, and that's the exact reason why they crucified him. Okay, so aside from time travel, maybe you're thinking Jak doesn't have the ability, the brains or the bronze to build Haven City. Well, actually, he does though.
Tell Torn Baron Praxis is planning something big. I think it has to do with that symbol.
What is it?
It's the seal of the House of Mar, the founder of Haven City. We're being sent out on suicide missions to locate artifacts from the time of his rule. If curiosity's worth dying for, you can ask the blind old soothsayer in the bazaar named Onin. She might know something about all this.
Ben, you're a genius.
Actually, Mar was the genius. People say he made most of this stuff long ago. The shield wall system, the eco-grid.
It looks like some kind of old eco mine. When Mar built Haven City, he must have carved out these old caves to get at the eco power.
Sheesh, that Mar guy must have never slept much.
Because light eco and dark eco. He can fly, he can blast things like carving out that eco canyon, and with the precursors by his side, they could have helped him create the eco grid with their knowledge. Now, wouldn't this take a very long time? Well, no, because aside from time traveling, Jak can slow down time with his light eco. Or in other words, move incredibly fast. Now, Mar is not just a legendary figure, he's also a bit of a mythic figure, because many people haven't really seen him. They have stories of him doing these things, but they haven't really seen him that much in action. So you might be wondering, how is he doing all this stuff, setting up the House of Mar, without being seen? Drumroll, please.
Oh, yuck! Cold, clammy, dead hands. Oh, I can't look.
Look out, Daxter!
Jak? Jak? Where are you, buddy? Hey!
It's a dark power, Dax. Some kind of invisibility.
Yeah, well, cut it out. If you moved that fast a long time ago, I'd still be wearing pants.
Jack wanted to keep a low profile and not interfere with the time loop. So he went by Mar as an alibi when he was in the past. In terms of the statue not looking like Mar, Jack knows that Haven City has a grudge on him for seemingly letting the metalheads into the city.
I'm afraid I've got more bad news. A large group of surviving metalheads have concentrated in another section of the city.
But we destroyed Core.
It appears the strongest metalheads have survived. The battle for the city has just begun.
The people are blaming you, Jack.
So he's not gonna want the statue to look like him, because that would cause drama for the Jack that's in Haven City. In terms of the House of Mar, Jack easily could have started it, but that doesn't mean he had children or gave birth to himself, like that Futurama episode. The whole Heir of Mar thing could have been Jack's idea to hide the fact that he is Mar. And because he's working with the precursors at that time, they could have addressed him as such.
Welcome, Heir of Mar. Finally, the Chosen One stands before me. Enter and prove yourself worthy to claim the ancient birthright. No. This child is too young to face the tests.
What? No! Do something, Jack!
Jack, remember the shore to be filled to the brim with painful death pot?
He could have gotten monks to appoint Deimos into a position of power and just say that he's a part of Mar's lineage. Which is true, technically. He just doesn't know the order. So when it comes to the identity of Mar, Jack is the perfect man for the job. He has the powers, the ability, the connections, the knowledge. He has the reason to do so, and he deserves all the hype. Because the Baron wanted to win with Dark Eco, Count Viger wanted to win with Light Eco. But with the Seal of Mar being a motif of the Yin Yang, and the Ouroboros, Light Eco, Dark Eco, it's clear that the master plan was all about duality. Not just Dark Eco, not just Light Eco. If Jack didn't get corrupted by Dark Eco, he wouldn't have become Dark Jack and would have remained with Deimos as a Wastelander. He wouldn't have went back in time to train and defeat Core. The precursor race would have become extinct and they would have conquered the universe. Even if someone else managed to get Jack to the past, I don't think he could have stopped Core without his dark powers, story-wise.
Surrender and die!
Excuse me, sir. Don't you mean surrender or die?
Not in this city. Protect us from these guards, and I'll introduce you to someone who can help you.
The Metalheads have always feared you, Angry One. Even now, the Metalhead leader realizes you can destroy him and save the last chance for our race. You now have control of another dark power.
That was cool. Do it again.
Something's happening to me. Something he did. I can't control it.
Very impressive.
You okay, Jack?
But who knows, I could be stretching it. So the Baron interrupting the loop was a part of the plan. And Jack couldn't just be Dark Jack without Light Jack, because he needs Light Eco to become Mar and fight in the Metalhead Wars. And it was said that Dark Eco would eventually destroy Jack if he wasn't balanced with Light Eco.
Nice threads. I didn't know rubber was back in. What are you working on, monk boy?
It is none of your concern, animal.
Look, coloring book. We've had a hard week. Don't push it.
The arena shows all, Dark One. Hate consumes your eyes.
Great. Thanks for the tip.
It will destroy you, just as these precursors destroyed themselves.
Look into the light and receive a power, hero.
Okay. Now you're scaring me.
Dax, the Dark Eco. It feels far away. I feel better.
So that's all I have for now. And I know what you're thinking. There are some things that I did not address. Like, for example, how long was Baron Praxis's rule? I don't think it was that long. I think it was maybe 5 years. That's up for discussion. Because how old would the kid have to be when Vigor kidnapped him, and then they took him back in time, and then Samos has Kira? Was the kid like 2 years old? Like, how old is Jak? Is he 15 the first game? Like, there's a lot of stuff like that that's open for discussion, but I think this Mar paradox thing still stands. For me, it's not just speculation. I'm certain that Jak is Mar. Or not, you guys can try and refute it. It's fun to have these discussions.
Who awakens the oracle? Wait, one of you has the light within. From before time, I have watched and waited for the true hero to return.
The hero of the story is Jak. He's got a destiny that will be revealed, maybe even not in this game, but sometime in the future.